Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Ross the Oliver Man, and today I thought we would look at some viewer mail that you've sent me. I've been kind of behind on keeping up with that, but the first pair of letters, that's how long it's been, he's actually wrote twice. I've got a couple letters from a Mr. John Wiggins, who has been watching some of the videos, and I'm trying to look and see which one of these came first. This one came first. I talked to somebody that said John used to write into the magazine all the time. So anyway, he says he apologized first for his bad writing, which is no big deal because if you saw my handwriting, it wouldn't be anything to brag about. He says he's waiting for new glasses, if I understand him right. He likes my videos, and he told me he had 5 880s. 2 he uses a lot, 1 has never ran. He got it to do a cultivator, and he has 2 550s. 1 his dad bought new in 1966, and let's see, he tells me about his dad and different things on there. And anyway, he has a 77 he bought new in 1949 and a 1550, and he has an 1800A, a 770, and 6 old IHs, I believe, if I understand him right. 686 diesel, 666 gas, 460, 560 gas, Super A, and a 140. And he used to work on the tractors with another friend, but that guy passed away in 20. I guess he means 2020. So anyway, he says that he's 77 to 78 years old. I guess he's going to be turning 78 on 8/28, which is in the past. So happy birthday, John. I should have answered your letter sooner. And anyway, he was talking about, he told me about how he disked and cultipacked over 100 acres this year with one of the 880s, a 12-foot disc and a 16-foot packer. Beans seem to do better on work ground than no-till. I no-till corn, and not a big farmer, he says, but that's okay, because I think that small farms are what built this country, and it's probably a good idea to have more people doing less than one person doing it all, because if that person runs into trouble, then you could have problems. So don't knock yourself for being a small farmer. That's a good thing. His second letter he sent in the September, and let's see, oh, it was after I put out some videos about that 5440 plow to the IH adapter. I had a service bulletin I found on that. He said, I saw you were talking about the Oliver 5440 plow made for 77 and 880 and would work on an IH 2-point fast hitch. In the mid to late 1960s, I saw an Oliver 5440 414 on an IH 560 getting near the road on a JD dealer's lot. I stopped and looked at it. It was in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is about 40 miles west of me. All the 560s in this part of the country only pulled 316 IH 2-point fast hitch plows. I have 3 to 4 pieces of literature on converting 5440 plows to fast hitch. It would take me a while to find them. I have been collecting Oliver and IH literature since about 1955, so he must have a really impressive collection. My 2 880s have power traction hitch. It's very helpful and work good hooking stuff up. I agree, that is really handy, especially you've seen like with the trailer ball in there, you can back up to stuff and pick it up and move it. Very handy. They pull a disc a lot better with the power traction hitch. Oliver could have got a lead if they had put a piece of cast iron an inch thick or so on the on top of the transmission to quiet down the whining he's talking about. Some people are really bothered by the whining. It's just one of those things that I kind of got used to. I mean, it seems like some tractors do it worse than others. I think that the 88 size tractors whine more than the 77 size, at least the ones I have do. But anyway, let's see, what else does he say? In this letter, he's 78, so he already had his birthday. When I was a kid in the 1950s, the major complaint I heard against Oliver was the transmission whining. Most of the tractors around were Allis-Chalmers and IH. Very, very few John Deere in the 1950s and 60s. Both Allis-Chalmers and IH had quieter transmissions than the Oliver. They did not last as long as the Oliver, though. Old two-cylinder John Deeres had a noisy transmission, but their engine was also very noisy. I agree. I have run that B John Deere that my grandpa's dad bought new, and I took it away to another farm and raked hay with it one time, and after about maybe half an hour or so, the popping really got old, you know. It's kind of a novelty at first, but it definitely kind of started to get on my nerves after a while. Hardly any JAD around here in the 50s and 60s, but full up now. So anyway, he says again, I like your videos, and he likes the 550 and 77 with the bar grill better than the plastic cracker box, he calls it. But you know what I'm talking about. I have a late style 770 with the fiberglass updated grill to make it look like the 50 series or the 100 series, you know. Oliver offered a deal where dealers could convert them over and they'd send you the fiberglass grill to update the front so it looked more like it fit in the line. But anyway, thank you, John, for writing. I appreciate hearing people's stories. I always like hearing stories from people that lived back when the tractors were new, you know. I always found that fascinating, so thank you for writing. The next letter is from Terry Bulow. I think I'm pronouncing your name right, I hope. If not, I apologize. People always butcher my name, so I'm doing the best I can. But anyway, he says, this is on October the 5th. I'm writing to you via snail mail because I could not find an email address or phone number. My email address is in the link of pretty well all the videos because I copy and paste the same information in every one. So if you want to email me, it's in the description somewhere. It should say my email. It's rosstheoliverman@outlook.com, I believe. Anyway, I saw in one of your recent videos you had just obtained a Bostrom style seat for your steel wheel 60. Have been looking for one to put on one of my 60s that my grandson uses on the WMT tractorcade each year here in eastern Iowa. Did you know, and can you tell me what I should be looking for? Are mounting brackets for a Model 33 combine correct for mounting to the floor of a 60, or something else to bolt on? Please point me in the right direction as to where I might find everything. I don't really know what to tell you. I just know that somebody reached out to me when I said I was looking for one, and I think I got mine from a guy in Ohio. I'd have to look back at my emails, but he reached out to me when I said I was looking for one, and you see them every so often. The difference in them is that that bracket comes down and then it curves, and it's got two holes up front to bolt to the floor of the 60, and then the two clamps go on the back, whereas your fleet lines, the bars go straight down, and the bottom, you bolt at the bottom, and then the clamps go up here. And the 70 is a similar kind of style of funny bend, but the 70 has little hooks that stick out when they mount to the floor, because the top of the transmission has like notches in it from the other style seat. I guess if anybody knows where there's one at, let me know, and I'll try to pass it on to Terry so that he knows. But you see them out there. I have heard before that the Model 33 combine was the same, but I don't know that for sure. There were never any Model 33 combines around here that I got to see growing up or anything, so maybe somebody else can answer that question too and let me know, and I'll bring it up another time. But if anybody knows where there's another seat like I rebuilt in those last two videos for a 60, let me know and I will pass it on to Terry, who sent me this letter. Finally, somebody sent me in the package from Amazon, and it has no return address. That it says Efficier Tools from Whitestown, Indiana. So I don't know if that's your business. Somebody commented on one of my videos that with all the small parts I had, I should use these magnetic trays. And so somebody sent me them. So thank you very much, because I will definitely use these. I've had these before and wore them out, and so I just never got around to buying more. But I definitely will use these because they're handy. You can stick them to whatever, and then they hold your stuff in there, as long as it's made of metal, or ferrous metal, I should say, that magnets stick to. But they're very handy because you can stick them to something and then lay your stuff in there. I will definitely use them. Thank you very much. Whoever you are, I don't know. You can send me an email and tell me if you want me to know, but thank you. I do appreciate it. Definitely not expected. It was a surprise and a nice one, because I definitely will use these. So again, if you want to send me an email or whatever, or a letter, all that information is in the description of each video. P.O. Box 81, Brownstown, Indiana 47220 is the writing address, and then rosstheoliverman@outlook.com is the email address. I love to hear your stories. I love to hear the stuff that you like to see. So don't be shy to write to me or whatever. Let me know what you're working on, and you know, I'll try to help you as best I can. Now I thought it would be good to do a little update on what we've all done to the Oliver 500 so far. I cut that other video short because it was getting to be like a half an hour, but it is coming along quite nicely. I'm very happy with the way it looks so far. I don't really know where to start. I pointed out quickly in that other video, you know, that we had the new light lenses, so that makes that nice. We've got our seat rebuilt. I ended up getting the battery box situation figured out. So on this side goes a custom ground cable. Inside the lid, which has no battery in it, I was able to get the battery cutoff mounted in that factory slot, so I didn't have to cut anything. And then I have a short jumper cable that goes from the original factory crossover cable to this cutoff switch, because I just bolted it in there using the bolt. I know people probably think that's nuts, but I'm trying to preserve as much originality as I can for as long as I can. So the crossover cable goes under there, comes over here to where our real battery is, and then it comes back out using the factory hot cable, which in this case is negative, because this tractor is positive ground. And so that's nice. I have gotten different areas cleaned up and painted that I felt like were so rusty that they weren't going to be preserved if I didn't do something. And this is a game of where do you stop. I want to keep as much original paint as possible, but also I don't want to go overboard or whatever. So I don't know. But anyway, those places had absolutely no paint, and they had like flaking rust on them. So I cleaned that up and gave it a shot of green color. I got our handbrake working again, our parking brake, where now you can pull it up and it sticks. And then when you want to release it, you just turn it and pull it down. You can see how that's made. It's got notches in it. And then there's a little flipper there. You can see the spring is pushing against it. And that was rested solid. So I had to heat it a little bit, got that loose, got the pin drove out, ended up pulling it out this way. I put a flat washer on it on this side. It looked to me like at one time it had an E-clip on both sides, but the head was kind of messed up on this end, so I thought I'd put a washer on. The other side still has an E-clip on. We still have to figure out our hydraulic situation. It's not quite right of what it's supposed to be. This should not just flop. And this, like I said, when you lift it up, it will lift, but it sounds like it's trying to keep lifting the whole entire time, and we don't want that. And one of the Oliver 500 experts, David K. McGuire, talked to me one night and was explaining to me about how I can make adjustments inside underneath that aluminum cover, because this handle here that you see sticking up, which I've got stuff in my hand, but that handle right there is your selector, because you can select it between like draft control and your hitch not doing anything, like when you would use the wagon drawbar. that I showed you I had that came with it. You mount that on, you take your 3-point arms off, you flip that lever so that it's just locked in the rigid position. And then there were more steps he explained to me, which I'll have to call him again whenever I get to that point. But anyway, cleaning this up and making it better will be one of the next projects, the back end here. More interesting things I've learned about this from talking with David were, see, if you had a belt pulley, it would be mounted here. And I thought to myself, boy, wouldn't it be neat to have a belt pulley? But I also learned that I don't want a belt pulley because that would be a lot more difficult than it looks at face value. If you did not have a belt pulley from the factory, you do not have the gear in that gear case that it takes to run the belt pulley. So you would have to get another gear and disassemble that, put it in there so that your belt pulley would turn. And we know this because another guy who has 500s tried it and it didn't work. And he had to end up getting another gear. So that is what's up with that, and I guess I'll give up on pursuing that idea, because another thing would be that belt pulley would be spinning the whole time you had the power takeoff going, so that would be kind of unhandy. Underneath the seat is the original toolbox, which I may or may not have pointed out. And this little thing, David was amazed that I still had, because he said, you never see this. That is the PTO cover, like I've explained. You got to loosen a couple bolts and then you can twist it in there and leave it. I'll probably just leave it in the toolbox. So we'll just put that back in there. There we go. We need to figure out what this situation is. Somebody's been in here and made some homemade shims or something. I don't really know what's going on. And then our draft control cable is busted at the threads, and the cable's kind of frayed. But this is the storage position. You put it up here on this pin when you're not using it. When you're using draft control, you bring this around and then you pin it on here like so. And then this thing is supposed to hook behind here, and then there's a spring in here, and as the draft load changes, it regulates your lifting and lowering. But anyway, that's not quite right. So I don't know if I can find another one of those cables or not, or have to try to make one, or just forget it and look the other way. That's probably more along the lines of what's going to happen. Like I said in the last video, I got reflectors coming because I want to replace this one, which is gone. I may just replace them both so they look like an even pair. I just have to see when they get here what the situation is. But it's coming along nicely. I need to probably clean it again. It's getting kind of dirty, and maybe wax a little better. We're gonna have to fix this tire at some point. When I bought it, it was totally flat, and I've had it all this time, and it's just now starting to squat, so that will be future attention. I did get the grill emblem mounted in, and that was no easy trick because I didn't take the hood off to do it, and I didn't know what kind of bracket it took to do it. So I made a little piece of metal that would fit the 2 screw holes and then kind of push against it, and then I made a wedge to hold it up, and then I also like silicone glued it in there so it stays. I did not repaint the whole grill yet. As far as this goes, I'm torn. I was trying to save original paint, but as you know, the clover white and rattle cans you get is not the right color clover white, and you can very clearly see the difference in the original and the non-original on this. But it looks better than it did, because this whole section, if you remember, was like the paint was all burned off and somebody tried to spray it with gray primer, and it just looked like a mess. So it looks better than it did, but it still looks goofy. It needs probably just repaint this whole front piece, as much as I hate to do that. But it's already been, like I said, painted on. This thing was painted like gloss white, so I took it off and gave it a shot of the non-correct clover white, but the stuff you get. I still have to make a bracket to hold this side better on that pin because it's rusted off. But otherwise it's coming along pretty good. I did some touch-up painting actually with a teeny tiny brush to fill in some of the paint chips that I made when I was straightening the grill, and other little different places where the paint was totally gone and it was starting to rust. That seems silly, but that is a trick I learned from an old man who had his stuff looked excellent. And I asked him, I said, how do you keep it looking that nice? And he said, the trick is anytime paint comes off, he said, you put it right back on. He said, it doesn't matter what. He said, in time, it'll all kind of blend together. And he said, it'll stay looking nice. But he said, if paint comes off, you need to fix it right away. So I try to do that, but at the same rate, it does look kind of goofy if you get too particular or get too much of it. But from far away, it really looks dandy. So that's what we're after. I think I will probably repaint this. This just sticks out kind of like a sore thumb because it's all rusty. There's no paint on it really to speak of. The cup has paint on it, but so we're going there. The sad story though, I didn't really want to tell you, but I will tell you. And I haven't got around to doing anything about it, but I also, if you saw Losey's video where he had the 880 and he poured the bottle of K-Seal in, we kind of ordered the bottle of K-Seal at the same time because I have a problem with this one. And the problem I have is the block has a little crack in it up in front. It stays moist. It's not really losing water, but it stays moist. And so it's enough you can feel that there's a crack there. But as good as it runs and as low hours as it is, I really don't want to tear it apart to weld that up until I absolutely have to. So I'm just going to try the K-Seal. I wanted to do it when I had it on a job where it was working so that it would get hot enough to kind of do its thing. I was thinking maybe like I'd put it on the auger and let it run some corn in the bin or something where it would get a little bit of a workout. So that's on the list of things to do, but it hasn't gotten any worse, so I'm not too concerned about it. But it is kind of disappointing that's there. That's probably the worst thing on the whole tractor, but overall it's still a cute little feller, and every time I look at it I appreciate it more, and I think we definitely did it some good. I should take a, I don't know, let's see, how could I do that to give you a side-by-side? I think I have a picture of it originally from this angle, so let's look at it here and you can see what it looked like compared to the original. And then we'll go over here. I know I have a picture of it from about this angle, and I also have that video where I drove by on it, and you could see, and you can tell a definite difference in how it looks from between when it came home till now. So we are on the right track with the little feller. We just need to do a little bit more refining to it, and I think we'll be in business. Remember, if you like Oliver and White videos, hit that thumbs up. Leave me a comment and tell me you liked it, or tell me I'm an idiot. That's fine too. But leaving comments helps the channel. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.